Sam, welcome to the Retail Whore podcast.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really looking forward to this.
We're on opposite sides of the world, actually, really. And we almost just missed our call. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I literally have just woken up. So, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Sam. I started my life as a hairdresser and progressed through that. And I then went on to open a salon, ended up having 2 salons. And through that process, decided to launch my own product range. So I then took those products, which we sold in the salons, and I launched them online. And we were fortunate enough to win some awards with some of those products. And that's what took me into this whole other space in my head to see actually what was possible with product and to work with people and understand people's needs and to know actually there's this whole other world out there that before I hadn't even considered being in a service-based industry. So then I started talking with other product businesses specifically around where I am. And I was like, there's so much missing in the way people connect and the way people want to genuinely help people, but they just don't quite understand that person well enough to be able to do it. So I started working with them. So I decided to go, right, let's see how we can help you from the knowledge I had working in having a retail store, but as a salon, and taking that through what I had learned to going, actually, it's all about connection and all about understanding what it is that you have to offer and the perfect customer that you need buying the product from you and working to meet them in the middle and say, right, well, here is what we have. This is how it can benefit you. And this is sort of started into a whole new world of me coaching product-based businesses. That's quite a long way for me to answer, wasn't it? But
I have a lot to unpack. First, you don't just obviously jump into owning a salon. What did you do prior? Were you hairdresser?
I left school at 16 and I trained as a hairdresser. So that is what I did. So that is in terms of sort of work before I went and sort of did anything for myself. Yeah, I was a hairdresser. Still am occasionally.
And what was your hair products and what awards did you win?
So they were mostly shampoos and conditioners. But then we went off when we started working out from the salons, what products were working well and which ones our customers were more attracted to. We then started working on styling products and creams and things like that. So we could actually, from what our customers were saying, go, right, this is how we can do it. And so our volume shampoo won, it's called, what was the award? It was like top. They were called the Hair Awards, I think. It was a couple of years ago. The volume shampoo won the best award for that in the professional category. And I had another one for, I think it was the extension shampoo as well, which did quite well. But yeah, it was something I decided to enter to see how we stood against other professional products like L'Oreal and Goldwell and Redken and everything else like that. And I just wanted to see if we would even get noticed or not, like as an exercise, I suppose.
That's amazing. Okay, so how does one just like out of nowhere decide to start a product line?
I cannot sit still.
Don't say.
Physically and mentally. I've always been this sort of person that's never been quite content with what it was that I was doing. And I was always like, okay, and I was probably say the word scrambling for the next thing. Like going, right, okay, well, this is this. I've achieved this milestone. What can I do next? Like, what can I do? What else can I do? And I've always had that mentality of like, well, I've never quite just settled and really appreciate what it is that I've achieved, I suppose, like in a way of looking back at me. Yeah, which, I mean, that's therapy. I mean, that's fine. But that's where it transpired from, because I was like, oh, what else can we do? How else can we help people? But also, what else can I do? Like, how else can I keep growing and learning and just keep progressing? And that's where it all started, really.
But how do you start? I mean, truly, how do you start? Because I talk to a lot of, like, every product-based person I've spoken to, it's always like, how do you just, it's not like you just all of a sudden Google how to make shampoo or how to put a handle. So how, just for a few moments, just how do you start, because it's like, there's packaging, there's branding, there's, all the things that go into, creating someone's favorite shampoo.
Yeah. So when it started with us going through and seeing the products that we had in the salon and working out which ones were our customers' favorites. So we were like, right, okay, well, what is it that people already like buying from us? Then I sent an email out to all of our customers saying, right, what is it about it that you liked? So I could understand, like, was it the smell? Was it the texture? Like, was it how heavy it felt? Or, like, I just wanted to know what they were saying, because it was important to understand, like, before I did anything. Mm-hmm. And then I approached this company that I started researching it and came across a whole new world of people that can help you do this sort of thing. But it meant I had all of this knowledge from my customers that I had already asked them for. And I was like, right, well, I know this is what I want. So then we started creating samples, and then I tested them with my customers.
That's really smart.
So I was really lucky in that way, in that I had these people already there that I could go, right, well, this is what I want to do. Well, you're already buying these things from another company from me. Tell me how you think. Tell me what you feel like. And I had these people already buying into it because it showed how much I cared about them. Like, I was valuing their opinion.
Yeah. I think the smartest thing is you asked, your customers why. And I think that's a lot of times, a lot of times people don't have somebody buying something that's like a like product, whatever, you can tap into their knowledge. But I think that's really smart. And then it makes them feel really important. Like, my opinion matters. Like, this is why. And then to take back to the R&D part of it, like, and have them being test models for the shampoo. So then how about the packaging?
The packaging came down to, well, it was the logo. So it was the salon branding mostly.
Your salon's name, by the way.
Chapman Salon.
Chapman Salon?
Salon, yeah. And so it was the branding that was across there. And I just kept it so it was amber bottles because, again, speaking to my customers, like, we wanted it to feel like it was more of an apothecary type situation. And the labels on them were just white with a white logo on them, with the salon logo on them. And simple to understand, like, what it was, clearly understandable. And it just sort of made sense and was a part of the salon that I'd created. Like, it matched, and that's what I needed.
Amazing. I had to ask that just because I didn't want to brush past all that and then brush into how you started. So now let's not skip over. You have the Abundance podcast.
Yeah, my podcast. Yeah, the Abundant Business podcast, which I started doing in April.
Of this year?
Of this year, yeah.
Oh.
And I do 2 episodes a week, and it's just me. I don't do any interviews. I haven't started doing any interviews yet. And it's just me going through, after having consultations with different types of product business owners and working with them and realizing, like, the different problems and situations and just different processes that people maybe don't understand clearly, or how they can change their mindset around what it is to focus on something in a way which could get them a different result. Mm-hmm. So I release 2 episodes a week, which is me talking into a mic like this, and just trying to help as many different people as possible achieve whatever goal it might be at the end.
So you basically will have a one-on-one with one of your clients, and then you kind of talk about it after. Because I mean, like, what a perfect time to be able to talk about, like, hey, this is what we covered today. These are my solutions. This is what my suggestions were, and like kind of a little synopsis of your conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use anybody in particular, so I do just go into it with sort of like an idea from what I'd spoken about, but I use what we had been talking about as content, because I know that's exactly how. If one person is thinking and feeling that way, they're not the only one. Like, we're never on our own in the way that we think and feel and behave. And I think it's nice for people to be able to find a connection with that, like, and understand that you're not on your own.
Well, 2 podcasts a week is no joke, because I don't do any of the back of house. I mean, I batch a lot of interviews, and then like right now we're batched out. We're doing this interview for those who are listening. We're doing it on October 19th. It's my anniversary today.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And this is my last recording, will be my last recording for the season, because I won't do any interviews during show season. So I've batched everything that will take me through the end of the year. So, which is great, but I don't do any of the back of house stuff. So the idea of doing 2 a week is frightening to me. I don't know how you do that.
But I think it's harder. I mean, like, I've not done any interviews like this, so I think it's harder when you've got a conversation going and then you've got to try and piece it together and make it work. Whereas I use a VA for some of the stuff, and I'm like, right, well, actually, I just want to make it me, but make it more condensed sometimes, because as you can tell, I like to waffle and chat.
That word, waffle.
So yeah, I think when it's just a one me talking,
it's still a process. It's like, don't downplay it. It's still. I mean, it's great to know that you have a VA that does it. My VA does all of my Instagram posts, and she's doing all the editing of my videos now. I mean, I would not, this wouldn't happen without my VA and without the team that does all the editing, because they're amazing.
It's quite important though, like, to see how much delegation needs to go into something for actually just to get to the end result. Like, to go, right, I genuinely can't do this all on my own, even though, like, I used to think, like, I used to go into everything going, if it's not done my way, it won't be done right. It won't be done like the way I want it to be.
Last words.
Yeah, exactly. And it was only when I actually started to trust in other people and start going, you know what? Genuinely can't do all of this on my own. I was getting burnt out and stressed and just wasn't managing well. And then as soon as I sort of could take a step back, I was like, actually, I can do more of the stuff that I enjoy doing, and I can do it better. And somebody else can do the job that I was doing sort of a bit half-heartedly, because that's their only real focus. I was like, perfect. This is like a whole new world.
There's lesson number 1 in your coaching. I think for any entrepreneur or anybody that's listening to this, I think that's the hard, because a lot of people have asked me for information about VAs and whatnot. And I was the same way when I started with it's like an agency, and it's a very high priced agency for VAs, but it was great because they kind of managed them. Like, if my VA just went MIA, I could go to the managers and be like, what's happening? Is she okay? She hasn't checked in. But there was a massive cost for that. But it taught me, though, how to figure out what I wanted to delegate. But people, I know I've told a couple people who have actually contacted my VA's brother, and they have him doing just a micro bit of what he actually can do. And once you start doing it, and once you start realizing how much they can do and how much more, like, for me, my videos, like I would never be able to do that. She's taken it to a whole nother level, but it's truly because I almost got frozen, because you go into it thinking, oh, they can do all this stuff. And then it's like, oh, then I couldn't even figure out what I wanted her to do, because it was so much stuff. And then once I started really narrowing it down with smaller tasks, and now she's like, thank God for her, because truly, like, for those of you listening, it's the best investment ever. But thank God, because she runs the show on the back end. Like last year was a really bad year for me and I was so disconnected from it, but she made it look seamless. Like everything from the Instagram post to the videos to all of the interaction with the editing team, she handled it all. It's amazing. And it's like, I think letting go of that control is the biggest lesson for any entrepreneur, and realizing, oh, look at how much time I have. And like you said, how much better they are going to do it rather than me trying to muddle my way through it.
Yeah. And I think as well, like you said, like to break down the tasks to still make it feel like you and the way that you would want it to be. It's just not you doing it. Like, so because of the way that my brain goes, I do have to break everything down and say, well, some people might call it a bit sort of overprotective, maybe. But I think that for anyone, like if you're building a brand and a business and you're trying to delegate some of it out, to have a list of what things that you want them to do and how you want it to look and feel and sound, because it's your voice at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, and I think it's important to keep hold of that. Otherwise, you could get diluted. And I was actually having a talk with someone the other day about ChatGPT and how so many small businesses now are using it solely and really, really relying on it to do a lot of their, I suppose, work that we would use VAs to help us with.
Yeah.
But for their social media and product descriptions, which drove me mental, and for just to get work done quickly, but actually in the process, they don't sound like them anymore. And they're losing this whole connection with the end user, which means you won't stand out and you won't get these customers because you'll sound like everybody else doing the same thing.
Yeah. The AI thing is a phenomenon to me. I've had somebody, Crystal, on here from Crystal Media, and she's brilliant at, how she'll drill down the description more and more. And, she always says, please and thank you. Cause she said, the robots are going to take over the world.
Yeah.
So she will she'll get it back and then she'll say, let's make this sound more like this, or let's, but that to me takes just as much time.
You might as well have written it yourself.
But I will say this for somebody, like I write the way I speak, and it is not at all grammatically correct. That's not even a word, but so I can understand that, but you definitely lose your voice. I feel like a lot of it sounds so formal. And I will say that's with the podcast. Like, I know I mispronounce words. I know I will go off on a tangent, but I do know in my heart of hearts, this, like everyone who's listening, this is truly who I am. And Danielle, I will say, for my VA, she's done a really good job of picking up, that it sounds like me writing it. Sometimes there's words and I'll change them, but for the most part, she's been with me a year now, and she's done a really good job of having that voice, had the voice sound like me. But AI, I don't know. I think it'd be great for descriptions, but I know that a lot of people do their everyday posts with them. And I know it's so valuable. I think also in the same breath, I'm still a little bit intimidated by it. Like kind of like stepping into the VA thing. I don't know what to ask it to do. Yeah.
Yeah. You do need help understanding it and knowing what it can do, but also like using what it gives you as like a guide only. And then the way you just said is how I describe it is like actually say it out loud. Like whatever it is that you're trying to describe, if you're trying to write something down, if you're trying to put words on a website, a page, anywhere, if you say it out loud, then you know if it sounds like you or not. Like, and actually if it sounds natural, and if it doesn't, what you're writing isn't going to connect in the way in which you could do personally. And actually it could mean the difference between a sale or not, because the person on the other end is either going to feel it or they're not. And I think that it's really important to have, like, we're all built on emotion and this desire to be seen and understood and to when you can do that in your marketing, your messaging, like anything else that you are writing, then that's when you start getting people coming to you because they feel that you have managed to see them, understand them, know them, and you've got a solution for them. And I think that's really, really important.
100%. I think that connection, I mean, that's what just humans need in general anyways, just that innate connection. So let's start talking about your why you're here, your personal coaching or coaching for product-based businesses. And you and I had a conversation last week, and I had said, I've had a couple people, and most of the people listen to us are retailers, but I think a lot of what you talk to, both on your podcast, but I think what a lot of people you talk to your clients about is valuable information for retailers. Even though they're not creating a product, they're still selling products, and they're still in the business of connecting with people. So let's talk about how you started your business, and how did you start getting clients is the first question I have.
So the first way I did it was actually, when I go back to my own product line, when I started working on that, and my sister, she works in a brewery and actually works in selling the beers on their online shops and things like that for the brewery. And she was coming at me with all these different things that were going on. And I was like, you're really missing something here. Like, you're missing the way in which people understand your brand in the first place, and the way you could take this to another level by showing like the value and why it is your customers are coming to the physical bar and why they would buy it at home. So I started working with her and realized I knew more than what I thought I knew. Like, from just sort of going, well, actually, and seeing the results that she was getting, I couldn't believe it. Like,
isn't it the best? Like, we're all thinking light bulb. I'm like, I mean, my husband's going through this right now. Like, he's been doing construction forever. And I'm like, I've been telling him, you need to get on Instagram. Like, that's the way. And he's starting to put posts out. It's starting to go through his body of work. And he was like, I really have done a lot of work. And I'm like, I know, but it's almost like you actually need to hear yourself say it out loud to acknowledge what you've done in your body of work.
Yeah. And when you start seeing results from somebody else, it's almost like that, the thoughts you're going, actually, I did that. Like, I managed to help somebody else. It's not a fluke, and it's not just me that can do it. Like, and so, I started working with her, and I helped her with bundles and packages, and I helped her streamline some different products and understand what people were wanting and not wanting. And then she then passed me on to another one of her friends, and it sort of went like that to begin with. And then beginning of this year, I set up an Instagram page, and so now I get work through Instagram. Because I sort of narrowed everything down to what is it that a product business essentially has to do. And I created these 4 pillars around, well, every product business or every business needs to attract customers. So you need to meet them where they're at. You need to understand who these people are and understand why they're going to these places, whether they're online, offline, and get to really know who this person is that you want to be buying your product. Then you need to nurture this person once you've been able to stand out in front of them. Like, you need to have processes and strategies to walk them through, first of all, understanding what the product can do for them, and then how can you get them to come back again and come back again sooner? And then we want them to increase their average order value, like the transactions, and having, again, different ways in which you can actually add benefit and value to them. You're not just trying to sell more product. You're understanding the reason why someone came to you in the first place, and you're building on the value that you've already provided to them, and you're building this loyalty as you move along. And then the 4th one is mindset, because like I was just saying, like the imposter syndrome is real, like self-sabotage is real, like negativity, and we all seem to focus on things that we don't do very well, or the bad review, or the horrible customer, or whatever it might be. But actually, don't focus on what we are doing well, or have a plan in place to really go, actually, if we focus on prioritizing these things every day, then I know I'm going to work towards to getting my end result, rather than things distract you and pull you away and pull you into this negative cycle that we all seem to gravitate back to if we're not careful.
How do you, because I think every single person listening to this was all about the imposter syndrome. It's a weird thing. You don't think you're having it, or you don't think you're comparing yourself. I mean, I have that. I just realized just this year, I have that a lot with my friend's podcast, Crystal Media. And it's like, she's been doing it a lot longer than myself. She's been talking to people forever. And I found myself on her Instagram page, like, actually, like, so envious of what she's creating. It's like, I had to literally look back at mine, and it's like, we hit our 60,000 download milestone yesterday. And it was like 60,000. And I literally had to like stop comparing myself, but it's very, very hard. I think everybody does that. Like, how do you guide people away from doing that? Like self-talk, so like anything from imposter syndrome is like the worst. Like, how do you get people to go the other direction or snap out of that?
I don't know about snapping out of it, but to go, okay, right, look at just what you have achieved. So something that worked for me back when, and actually I do it every night now, I have a little gratitude journal, and every single day I write something in this gratitude journal, and it's got to be something different that I am grateful for that day. And it's on my bedside table, and every single night I put something else in there, and it makes me, sometimes I have to sit and think about it. But it's something that I started saying to my clients about. I was like, right, if you're in a space where you're competing with, in your mind, against somebody else, or you think someone's doing better than you, or whatever it might be, let's just come back to see what you've done. Let's see what you've achieved that day. Let's see like what you've managed to do that day that might have been a step further than you might have managed to do yesterday. And I think it's just to go, well, let's bring the focus back to you and your ability and what you're capable of doing, and say, well, that's not what they're all at a different stage. We don't know how they've got there, how much help they've had to get there. We don't know really anything about these people we're comparing ourselves to. What we do know is us. And actually, we can focus on us and say, well, this is the best I did today, and I've got something to be grateful for. I had a good review. I had however many people buy a product, whatever it was that you've managed. I'm very much into the why behind anything that we do, and reasons why people connect with us, why people buy from us, why people love you and your business and your brand. And I'm like, well, there's something that you did there to make them feel special. That's something that you have been able to create. And isn't there something more in that than, instead of worrying and comparing, you should only really be considered about what you are managing to do. And if you're creating something which is getting you closer to your goals, then that should be enough, right? If you're working and you've got a plan and a strategy to have goals, and you've got ambition, and you're doing something, and you know every day that you're at work, you've taken one step closer to that, then you should be happy, shouldn't you?
Yeah. How I snapped myself out of it was that I'm super proud of her. I mean, I'm very proud of her that I know her. I'm proud of her that I've been on the podcast a couple of times. But it's funny, you get caught up, and I'm sure other retailers will look at one retailer. Why does her windows look so good? And all the things retailers go through. It's very real. I mean, and I always, I think it's something that no one talks about, because it's something that's like, you kind of hold it to yourself. And the fact that I just said that out loud is like, but it's honest. I mean, it's true. And like I said, for me, it was like stepping back and looking like, she's so incredibly talented. And it's, we have a very different podcast, and I am so happy for her because she works so hard at this, and she has a team of people that work on it with her. But, I think it was taking myself out of it and like realizing like, we're very different, but she's very, very good at what she does. And I'm very lucky that I've been on it and I know her and she's been on it here. But I think that is very, the comparison thing is like a lot of people, retailers, especially because everybody's in competition with each other. I mean, it's all like, you're in a street with 15 people and, you're all vying for the customer's same dollar. And I think everyone kind of looks at each other. And that's why that's why it's funny with this podcast is that there are people I'll reach out to that I want so bad on this podcast and flat out have said no because they don't want to, quote, talk about their secrets. And it's like,
yeah.
But I always go back to the thing is like, the more of us that are out there, podcasters, retailers, whatever, the stronger our industry is. And when you're in a street that has X amount of stores is, worrying less about what everybody else is doing and worrying more about yours, but knowing and understanding that all of these stores together on this one block are making the industry a place to go and making it
community, isn't it?
Like the stronger they are, which is great, but hopefully also the stronger they are makes you continually kind of push the envelope and like raise your own bar.
Yeah, I think it's
that was a long way to go around it for me.
I think especially with brick and mortar stores, like the competition is real. I know with online and people trying to get footfall into their shops is a very different landscape to as it was years ago. I mean, it's very different with people. I don't know how much. Maybe it might be an England thing versus an America thing. I don't know, but trying to stand out and attract and trying to get in front of people with window displays and but you should always be telling the story to your customer. Like, so instead of trying to copy other people, and I see other people, I see around here, like one person has a window display and then it's not too long after that someone else tries to do something quite similar. And you go, right, well, and your customer isn't really feeling that. You've just seen something down the road from a shop that you might like or might be envious of or whatever. They might be successful. But you need to make your customer feel like they're walking into your world. This is like the world that you have created for the people that you want to come back and shop from you again and again and again. And I love window displays that tell a story. It was an episode actually of yours I listened to. It must have been a week or so ago. And she was talking about window displays and I loved it. I can't remember the name of the lady who was talking.
Amy from Chicago. She's head up the windows for Marshall Fields.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, this is brilliant. And I love that people are using their windows to talk to their customers, and they're not just putting product in the window. They're not just putting something there for the sake of filling a window. This is about having this conversation and building trust, which you have to do to get these people to come through the door. And I think it's a lot of people forget that, and they just sort of think, well, if we fling a load of stuff and hope for the best, then that should be enough. But there's a reason why it's people's jobs to dress windows, why we have visual merchandisers, why people do this sort of thing as a job, because of how important it is and how much we need to, going back to connect again with the people that we want. We don't want everyone, do we? We don't want someone that's going to come in and just try and get your sales stuff all the time and never want to pay full price. Oh
my God. Well, that's like the big thing with retail. It's like the Gap. The people that shop and only shop sale and same thing as Anthropologie. Everyone knows that the Gaps, I think it's Tuesdays, their markdown day. And I think Wednesday is Anthropologie's day. And it's like, they're a horde of people that's the only time they shop the store is like for a sale.
Yeah. But that isn't your or those brands, that's not the customer they want. Like, they're just trying to shift off like the stock that might be the end of line, and they're trying to get more space in or whatever it might be. But you should really be focused, your attention should be on attracting the people that are going to come and shop from you for a long time, that buy into your values, that buy into what you stand for, and they move through your customer journey and they stick with you for life, like, because they love what you do and what it is that you can give them, the feeling of what it is.
So what comes up a lot in social media, Crystal talks about it actually a lot, and it is something that retailers have a very, very, not all, but a good portion of retailers have a very hard time doing, is going either live or on stories as themselves. Because, you talking about the customer knowing you and understanding you and vice versa, like getting on stories and talking to your customers, that is the best way for your customers to see you and to know, oh, it's Michelle. And then when you are in the store and they're in the store, even if they don't know you, they're like, oh, hi, I follow you, blah. And it's like the perfect opener for people that are coming to your store for the first time, who have seen you on social media and they feel like they know you. And then they've come in the store and now they say, but I mean, social media is a tricky one because, again, like, people are not comfortable going out. But even if you put some of your team members on social media, because your team members are an extension of you and they're on the sales floor, they're meeting their customers. They have their own customer, hopefully clientele list that they work with. But there's something about that connection of people knowing who you are. But I love that you will take it one step further and the why part of the customer and who that customer is, versus just having the customer know you, flipping it to where you're getting to know your customer.
Well, I think I follow different shops, and the ones that, even if it's a pre-record and it's almost like a personal shopping section that shop owners can do, staff can do, where you're showing people, actually, if you're this type of person and you love this product, you'll probably like this product, and here's why. And you're showing people that actually, by walking them through the steps and why that link might be together, or why you recommend this, you're showing, well, actually, you're an expert in what it is you're talking about. You're showing that you're knowledgeable. You're showing that actually you care about the products that you're selling, but you're also building this trust with the customer who would have otherwise walked past this product because they wouldn't have known it from anything else unless they were looking for it specifically. And all of a sudden you've brought it into their awareness. You've made them understand that, oh yeah, I love this. Well, why don't I try this then? And because they've heard somebody say, actually, the words they needed to hear for them to overcome any obstacles or barriers to whatever it might be to them purchasing.
That's interesting. I never thought about that. Like, where a customer, say whoever loves this Voluspa candle, and it's like, if you love this scent, because we are all creatures of habit. And I know, Voluspa, the candle line, times the Fraser fir, because it's coming up on holidays, like, that is my candle. I will buy them by the fives. Like, they're not in scent. I love more than anything. But it's interesting of taking customers' thing that they're always trying, and they like have become a habit or whatever, creature of habit. But it's like, if you love this, you should try this. These are the notes. These are, whatever. If you like this brand of jeans and you love this fit, you should try this one. Because I think that almost, when I think about it, that almost kind of breaks someone's mind of, this is like, you're on autopilot. You're going to go right to those candles, and I'm going to pick up I already know there's a store here in Newport Beach, California called Rogers Gardens. They, Christmas setup. I know already. I'm going there and I'm going directly to the candles I want. It's funny when I just started thinking about that. It's like, by doing that in these suggestion, videos, like, that is giving somebody like that almost like a roadblock of like, oh, maybe I will try that. And then now you've turned them onto a different scent. They probably will still buy the one they love, but now they're trying. That's really interesting. I didn't even think about that.
And also, it's for different rooms. Like, I have different scents in different rooms, and I obviously don't want it to be too contrasting as I go through, so I want them to be complementary to it, like especially with candles and like all sorts. And so for that sort of thing, especially if we're talking about scent, especially like I would appreciate if somebody could walk me through that, so I could have these different things, and I don't have to go through the smelling them, and then you get overwhelmed with all the different smells, and you're sort of like, well, now I'm lost. But if somebody has already built that trust with me and built the knowledge, and I'm like, right, actually, could I just try this one and this one? Then I already know, like, and I'm more likely to make a purchase than walk away with nothing because I'm overwhelmed and I'm confused, and that would be I'll just go to another shop
and be overwhelmed over there.
Well, yeah. But I think this to build this connection with people, and where especially a lot of like brick and mortar stores where you've got a lot of stock and it's a lot of people walking in there and people don't see half of what it is that you're selling because it gets, well, there's only so much we can compute unless we're sort of looking like this all the way through. And I think unless you have your merchandising, you've got your shelves so that they talk to each other, so that you've got a way of walking a customer from one product to the next and showing them why they would benefit from this product, unless you've got your social media and you've got people talking about your different products and why they should try them, there's a lot of your stock that people can miss. And you then have to start rearranging your shelves and you have to start drawing people's eyes to different things. But I think that there's a lot could be missed if you don't actually just tell people and show them the benefit and, again, the reason why it would help them.
It's so funny. For someone who's not in retail, you just explained like basically how Anthropologie, I mean, as far as how the shelves and the floor flows, that's basically what you just talked about, which is, I'm sitting here marveling like, wow, for somebody that's not in retail, you just literally, I mean, that is when you're as a store, you are supposed to be feeding them an Anthropologie. I talk about this a lot. I talk about them a lot because I came out of Anthropologie, but
yeah.
Their philosophy is public to private. So you walk in the most public area, which would be garden outside, and then it takes you through the kitchen area, and then it takes you through a living area. And then as you get to the back of the store, it's bedding, intimates, and the fitting room. So it goes back to the very so there's that flow of store that, and it's the other thing too, I kept thinking about when you were talking about candles is there's a company called LAFCO, which is a brilliant, beautiful line. And they have broken down a lot of their candle lines by the living room, the sunroom, this room. Like, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But when you were talking about candles and scent and flow from one room to another, the first thing I thought of was LAFCO's. But it's that flow. And I think that, with social media, like if a retailer went on once a day to talk about their product but one thing I do want to dig into is that we're talking about what we can do from the customer. How do you engage the conversation with customers to find out what they need? How do those conversations happen? Do they happen in person? Are they happening on social media? Are they happen? Like how do you coach people to work for products? How do you coach people to get that information from their customers?
So I would always start anything with, I think that I've understood you this way. So if I was a product, if I had my own business selling a product and I wanted to launch a new product, is that what we're talking about? And so then before I do anything, I would start a wait list and see actually how many people are interested in this product. Like, so if I've got a great idea for something that I really want to launch that I think my customers would really love, I would send out an email to my current database and say, I'm considering this. Have you got any thoughts and feelings? Like, ask them, would they raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm interested? I would also run polls on social media. I would see if people are engaged in a particular type of product, and I'd ask questions around the product and see if there was the traction behind it that I thought there would be. And go, right, okay, well, actually, I can see now that people are interested. Then I can start going into, well, now I know that I've got a product here. I know people are interested in it. If we can get them to sign up to a if you can put a wait list onto like an email, onto a website page or something like that, so we can get them segmented so we know that they're interested. We then have a way of asking more questions, asking, have they tried anything like it before? Is there a reason why they might have stopped choosing it before? Is there anything that you might need to know that would be someone's obstacle to buying this product from you? And how can you then create marketing, messaging, and imagery that can help them to overcome this when you have this product that you want to eventually launch? I would always turn the conversation back to my customer and any potential customers that stand as an audience through social media channels, and actually really start asking them, but through polls, through questionnaires, through things that you have available to you that are actually really quick for people to answer. I would never ask more than 5 questions at a time because people are bored after 5 questions. Yeah. Like, people give up. And you want to make it so they can click A, B, or C and not have to fill out rhyme and verse, because people won't do that. It's got to be easy. It's got to have something that they can quickly flick through and feel that what they're doing is of some purpose. Mm-hmm. But I would always start before changing anything, before changing or adding anything, speak to my customers by doing those things. So we have the knowledge, we have the information, we can then work with that and know where that product is going to stand in our customers' minds.
I think, because I've always, like, the customer obviously is the number one reason why we're all in business. And I think that understanding what the customer needs and wants, because I think a lot of, when it comes to retail, like I've done it before myself, like you'll go to a retail show, the wholesale gift shows, and I'm buying things I like, and I'm not thinking about, like, oh, I know the customers have asked more for this, but I've learned a lesson. I've talked about this before on the podcast, is that at Anthro, they have a list of velocity items, and you have to make sure those velocity items are within however many units that you're selling for your store, because that is like the number one item in each of the departments of the company. And there was a stupid fish hook that I hated. I personally hate it. And I refused to put it like at eye level. So I would like hide it. And every single week we got on a call, and every single week I got called out. Where is the velocity fish? It's either not on their floor because it's not showing up on sales, or customers can't find it. And I learned that it's not about me and what I like, because that stupid fish thing, I'm guaranteed, is still on the velocity items. And I've learned that it's like, stop. I have to go by my gut of what I believe customers will buy, but I do have to take myself out of it and find and follow what the customers want and want to buy. And sometimes I think when you go to the gift show for buyers, I think a lot of times you're thinking about what you love. And I think a lot of times we forget about, like, oh, we sold a lot of those. I should think about maybe doing more, but I hate it, so I don't want to. That would be me. But like I said, I learned that lesson, that it's not like just because I don't like it, it's very much could be the top of
the most common thing I hear is people say, I can't sell something if I can't stand behind it.
Yes.
And I completely appreciate that. Like, I go, well, you shouldn't be selling something if you don't particularly love it. But you have to take a step back and go, are you the person that you want to sell this to? Because if you're not the ideal person that is going to be buying this, then you shouldn't be making that judgment as to whether it should be in your shop or not, because so I work with people, and we put together this whole customer persona of like problems, frustrations, irritations, their wants, needs, and goals, so we can really feel this person that we want. We put a name on it, we get them. So actually, any decision that we make, we go, okay, would this person love this? This is why they would love this. This is why they would buy this. Like, this is the price point. It would work for them because we know this is the price point of our perfect customer, what they would do. But you can also go into, like we're saying, into your data and say, well, we know from past experience this has sold well at this time. This has sold well at that time. Okay, why is it sold well at that time? Was there anything else going on? Was there something that people connected to particularly? Like, was it the product itself, or was it the way it was marketed? Was it where it was on the eye level in your shelves? On like, what was it that you did that made that sell well? So you don't think, oh, actually, we'll just get that again at the same point next year, but it doesn't connect because you don't actually know what it was you did in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I think a lot of people are struggling with that right now from COVID. I interviewed, I think it's, by the time this comes out, is already aired, but Ken Waters has a garden shop in Scottsdale. And he had said, COVID, because they were necessary, they had to stay open. So he said, we're taking things out of the boxes, and they were literally selling out right then. It's like we couldn't keep things in stock. And he said, and now that we're in a normal situation again, the monopoly money is gone. It's like, it's not that buy. He's like, we've had to go back and remember and go back and work on our sales again, our merchandising, our selling, because we are still comparing it. And I think a lot of retailers are still comparing what they sold during COVID and the numbers and the volume and looking at it now and not thinking about, like, obviously that was a whole nother situation, but I think a lot of people are not looking at the why. And I think that, like, why was it selling so much in 2019 or 2020? Because we were in a pandemic, I think now, I mean, I'm like now starting to get tongue tied, but I think that if people look at their items, why they're selling at a certain time of year, what was it, the price point, blah, blah. I think and again, I think some of this really gets down to reporting for retailers that, there's a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of retailers that do not still utilize reports. And this is one of those things. Reporting will help you look at those things. Why, what time of year was it? What was the scent? Whatever it was, I think your reporting will actually help you a lot in a lot of these decisions.
Yeah, completely. And help you move into the next chapter of your business life, because you obviously can't just keep I'm going to say the word regurgitate, but it doesn't sound very nice.
There's a lot of people that just reorder on auto, and there's a lot of people that just reorder for the sake of reordering versus, trying something new, it's on autopilot. Like we're just like, it's one thing knowing, okay, well, we know this is what sold well. So, okay, we'll just repeat. But before then, you then get to the place where you just get stagnant and nobody comes to you for inspiration anymore because they know the cycle that already happens. God, thank you. You're preaching to the choir right now. I love it. And you're not even a retailer. It blows my mind.
But also to understand like the why behind why somebody bought it and go, okay, well, if they liked this, what are the chances are that if we were introduced this, if we were to go through the process of asking our customers, we're looking at launching this for next season, like, have you bought anything like this before? Would you be interested in anything like this? Like, to just put it to them. Obviously, it depends on the scale as to how many new things you're bringing out into your shop at any one time. But you can get a feel as to, okay, well, how far can we change or add or adapt and keep our customers inspired, like keep them wanting to come back and keep growing with them, because you're going to have to then attract more people as people naturally stop coming to you. Like the cycle keeps going and you have to keep moving with the times and keeping people loving what you do, keep wanting to come back. And
you can't do it. I mean, the reorders for retailers, you have your bread and butter, the Voluspa, the Jellycat, the things that you're going to sell all the time. But for the other items, not to get hung up in that constant reorder, because it's like there's nothing new and there's nothing. And I had said this, I did a solo, and it's like I talked about, like, as a merchandiser, if you are running on the same merchandise and the same things I've reinvented over and over, and there's not a lot of new introductions, because right now, face it, like it's a lot of retailers don't have a lot of extra money to continue. They need to keep the bread and butters in, but then there's not a lot of extra money for new introductions. But as a merchandiser, it's very challenging that if something's running on beyond your bread and butters, if something's running on a constant reorder, it's very challenging to make it look different every time. There's only so many different ways you can put this puzzle together. And I had run into that last season. It was like, I don't know what to do because one of my stores runs on reorders past their bread and butters, but will continually order the same thing. And which is great. They sell, but there was nothing new. There was no way to create a newness and a freshness, and their sales started dropping and they didn't understand. And part of it is because of economy and it's a election year, but a lot of it is because there's nothing new and nothing fresh for the customers to come in and see. And going back to what you were saying about asking your customers and what do you think? I think that, one of the things that a lot of the younger retailers are doing that I see a lot at the apparel shows is these girls are going live. They've got their stick, they've got their whole crew of people, and they're in booths, in apparel booths, and they're trying on things. What do you guys think about this? People they value that they're being asked, what do you think? And it's like, oh my gosh, we love it. And this is all happening live. And they'll literally turn around and go, okay, we want 10 of those, everyone's spoken. And then they're starting to do pre-orders on that. Like, okay, if you guys want to pre-order, put your order in now. So-and-so's here. She's on the side. Like, I mean, it's crazy to watch this next generation of retailers do things because a lot of, again, retailers are not comfortable doing it. But I think including your customer in lives or on stories and asking them, what do you guys think? And I think a lot of retailers don't ask. And I think that's the reason why I really wanted to talk to you, because it's like, it's putting it out of all about what we think as retailers, but really asking like, what do you guys want to see? And there's a fine line of this. I will say this because I've had retailers where, you're like, why is this here? Like, this makes no sense. So-and-so asked if we need mugs. And it's like, not scary mugs. Like, it's like, well, they asked. So I thought, so there's a fine line of asking your customers. But if you're asking your customers for something that they are already buying, like, what do you guys think about this? And you're at the gift show and it's like, the gift show season's coming up. This will play most likely before the show. It's like, go on stories. Ask your customers, hey, I'm standing in Cody Foster showroom. Do you want Christmas ornaments, boobs? Like whatever it is. Like, yeah. I think that's really important. That's a really valid point, which I love.
Or even if you're scared of going live or uncomfortable, might be a better word, segment your email list. There are people that have already signed up. You've got your VIP customers. You've got your people who love coming to your shop. So speak to those people. If they're the people that are your bread and butter customers, then the top 20% of your customers, then start using them. If they come back to you and if they're spending the most amount of money with you, get their thoughts, get their opinions, get their feedback, and get them to engage and feel like they're part of the brand that you're building, because they've already shown their loyalty by continually shopping with you. We'll start showing them actually just what that means and how they can help shape what you want to do more of, because ultimately you want more people like those VIP customers. You don't want the people that are one-hit wonders. They come and disappear and that's it. You never see them again. So when you engage with those top 20% of people, the people that love you, come back and keep buying and like they're brilliant, then you get the thoughts, the feelings, the understandings of what it is that they're looking for, the way they want to feel after they've purchased from you, then you should be tapping into that. You're missing out on something massive if you're not tapping into that. And you're just letting those people go off and actually not necessarily feel as a closer bond to the community that you're building, the brand that you're building, as they could possibly have if you weren't doing these things.
I love that. I so appreciate this conversation. Like, this is so amazing. Why don't you tell people a little bit what it's like to work with you as a consultant or a coach?
I only work one-to-one because of everything that I've spoken about today. So I don't do courses. I don't do anything like that. I just work with people. And it's usually over a 3-month or 6-month basis. So I can get to know you. I can get to know what your business is like. We can understand what it is that the goals that you have in place. We can bring everything back down and chunk everything into the direction that you want it to go into. And then we can work on tasks and goals every single day that will get you to your end result. And we do this over Zoom calls. We do this over Telegram chats. So people can have access to me and ask questions as we start implementing things. And I like to know the person, like, as we're talking, like there's a connection you get from doing this, then even when I have gone and done courses and things before, excuse me, you don't have this connection. They don't have that understanding of your brand and what it is that you want to sound like, who it is you want to attract. And so for me, that's really important, is to know what it is that you want to achieve, why it is that you want to achieve it, and how we can help you to get there by understanding everything that you've tried before, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and why. And then we can start building you up to do whatever it is that you need to do, like go to wherever it is that you need to achieve to. Like, I do believe you can achieve anything if you have the mindset behind you and then you put the strategies in place and actually stick to it and really have someone that can work with you and answer questions and give you somebody to ultimately not answer to, but to work with. So you feel there's a sense of, actually, you don't just drift off and go off in your own tangent and then back into the cycle again. Like, you're going, actually, no, like, there is somebody asking me, have you managed to do this? Did you struggle with that? Like, have you managed to achieve what you wanted to do? And if so, great. If not, why not? How can we help you with that? Like, that's what it's about. We're all people at the end of the day. Like, we're all trying to get to an end goal, an end destination, but we don't all know the answers to everything that we need to have. And it's just about working with somebody to help you to get there. It's a really long answer that I gave you there, wasn't it? But
I've heard you talk like that forever. So give everyone your website and then your socials.
So our website is samuelchapman.com and my Instagram is Product Coach Sam.
And then talk a little bit about your podcast and where can people hear it?
So my podcast is on iTunes, it's on Spotify, it's called The Abundant Business Podcast. It's, if you like the sound of my voice, it's me talking. And literally, twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, I give you different tips, different things to focus on, different things to break the strategy down, and I help you implement it into your business.
They're short form too, so they're easy, bite-sized little information. It's not like mine where it's an hour plus.
No, yeah. So they run up to half an hour. There isn't many that
That's short format compared to me.
I don't think people could listen to me on my own for that long.
Thank you, Sam Chapman, so much for spending this time with me this morning. I apologize again about my delay, and I'm
Don't worry.
So grateful to have you on. It's been so much fun.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.